my journey with cancer, I would say that it was, I discovered I had cancer back in 2014, but before then I had a lump on my breast, the right breast, and it was a very tiny lump, like a pimple sort of. So I visited Kenyatta Hospital, but I did not visit immediately because it was not painless. So I kept postponing. When on my menses, that's when the lump would grow, a bit bigger, but no pain, just itchiness. So I kept postponing. But one time when it was a bit big, I was like, now I have to go to the hospital. So back in 2011, I guess that's when I went to Kenyatta. By then I didn't need to, it was not cancer. So when I went, they said they did some specimen, the FNA, and they said it was not cancer from the results. It was a benign kind of a thing, and they assured me to be over. So they just gave me some drugs, which were to shrink the lump. It was not that big. Then they were like, I should follow up with the clinics, which I did. But this issue of Kenyatta, you go today, you've paid for the consultation, no doctor, you're told to come next month, you've already paid, you're paying again, they don't even, and still no doctor. So after they had said it's not cancer, they gave me the drugs, and it's like it disappeared completely. I gave up on the clinics because of that Kenyatta issue, going today, tomorrow. So, and I relaxed. I went on with my life. The thing, it was not there, it disappeared with the drugs I took. But now in 2014, I usually lie, I fell down on the stairs. But okay, the truth be told, I was with a guy, my ex, and we were making love. So you see how the way they touched the boob. So he held on this boob and he was pressing it hard. So I think it's kind of the lump got like cut as he was pressing the breast, and I felt pain. And I even told him, I felt so. Hapo umefinya nimesikia uchungu on the lump. But he was a doctor. He would tell me to go to the hospital, and I was like, see, they said it's not cancer in Kenyatta, so why waste my time? And it's not paining, it's not even big. So when he pressed the lump, it got hurt, and even told me, just ensure you go to the hospital because I've been telling you to go for a checkup. The next day, I wake up with blood on the nipple. So I guess it was triggered by that, the pressing. So blood from the nipple now awakened me, and I had to rush to see a doctor. I usually go at some clinics in Coptic Hospital. So that's where I went for there. I went and I saw a doctor, and they did mammogram, and then from it, they said that I needed to do some further checkups. So they referred me for biopsy, the same hospital. Then they were to give me the results after 1 week. I waited, no call. So the next week I began calling, and I was asking them, where are my results? They were misplaced, I don't know what. I'm like, but you guys have taken so long. You said I would take after 1 week. Then they were like, okay, let's look for them. We'll get back to you. After 1 week, 3 days, no communication. I called them again. So now I was beginning, it never crossed my mind that I had cancer. It would be cancer. Besides, it was even not painful. The blood was triggered by the pressing of the breast. So I was like, it can't be cancer. But why are these guys delaying my results? So, and then I just called them one day. I told them, now the second week, if the results are bad, just tell me instead of keeping me waiting in suspense. So they told me, we'll get back to you as soon as we get the results. So I was called on the second week, and they told me they've seen my results, I should go pick.
My journey started back in 2016 when I started feeling pain on my back. Every time I walk, I carry something heavy, and I decided to go to the hospital and get checked. I was told by the doctor to get an ultrasound done, and they discovered a mass. The mass was on my left side of abdomen. They could not figure out where it was specifically, so I was told to go to Kenyatta Hospital for further test. I had a CT scan done, which showed that the mass was coming from my left leg. and I was scheduled for a surgery. In 2017, that's when I had my first surgery at Nazareth Hospital in Kiambu, but the doctors could not remove the tumor. It was so huge. They didn't want to interfere with it because they thought I might overbleed. So after 3 months, I had another surgery since the tumor was still growing rapidly. And this time the tumor was removed at Coptic Hospital. They left a small piece, about 5 centimeters, and they removed the other tumor, which was 19 centimeters. It looked like a baby. It was all over my stomach. I looked like I was pregnant. And they tested the tumor, the mass that was removed, and they discovered that it was spindle cell sarcoma. And I was scheduled to start my treatment, radio and chemo, after a month. Before the treatment started, I had to undergo another scan, which was MRI, and it showed that the tumor had already grown again to almost 10 centimeters. I underwent my 35 sessions of radiotherapy. And then later on, the tumor was still the same size that it was before the treatment. The doctor said that I will not do the chemo at that time because it did not react to the radio, so they feared it won't react to chemo. I stayed for like 8 months before I underwent another surgery to remove the other tumor that recurred. But this time the doctor said they didn't find anything. My journey has been so difficult for the last 3 years because the side effects that were left by the radiotherapy are so severe. Some of them are even worse than when I had the tumor at first. I can't control my bladder like I used to because the radio damaged my bladder. It's so difficult going to the toilet without taking medicine or drugs to soften my stool up to now, and it's almost now going 2 years and a half. Also, my bladder sometimes it bleeds because it became so weak. When I get pressed and I don't go to the toilet, if I take anything acidic, my bladder starts bleeding. Being a young woman, I had started a business which I had to close because I had to use all the resources I had to pay for my treatment. Having 3 surgeries, it has cost me a lot, plus undergoing the radiotherapy, which is quite expensive. I even had to do some fundraising.
I've heard of doctors who are rude, who break the news in a manner that is heartbreaking. But fortunately, I can say I was fortunate enough to fall in the hands of a very special doctor. Because when I followed Dr. Mtua to his office, he told me to wait outside. And he took quite a while, and I was worried because I didn't know what he was doing, and I was anxious. So I went, knocked on his door, and I was like, "Hey, doctor, I think you have taken so much time. I need to know what's happening." And he told me, "Oh, I'm sorry. I know I've taken quite some time, but there's someone I was waiting for." Luckily, then some guy walks in, and he's like, "Okay, now you can come in. This is the guy I was waiting for." And he introduces me to the guy as as I don't know what he called him. I can't remember the term that he used, but I think he was a counselor. So this guy introduces himself to me, and he's like, they tell my sister to wait outside for a minute, and they ask me, are you okay with us telling you whatever it is that we want to tell you in front of your sister? And I was like, yeah, she's my next of kin, so I'm okay, and I'm confident that when she's there, nothing will go wrong. So something that was very funny was this doctor, before he broke the news to me, we prayed. Something that it's unheard of, it's uncommon. He asked that first we pray. We prayed, and when he was praying, I could tell something was not right, because he was telling God to give me strength, enough strength to sustain me through the journey. After we were done with the prayers, so he tells me that, okay, I have some good news and I have some bad news. Which one do you want first? And I was like, okay, I think I'll start with the bad news so that I can cover it up with the good news. So he tells me, unfortunately, you have cancer. And he's like, okay, and I'm like, okay, now that I have cancer, what's the good news? The good news is it's not far gone.
I'm a breast cancer warrior. I was diagnosed with cancer 2015. And at that time, I didn't know what cancer is. I never thought it would happen to me. Later, I discovered that I had a lump on my breast. I went for an X-ray. After going for an X-ray, they discovered I have a tumor on the breast. So I had to go and do biopsy. When I went back for the results, they didn't even cancel me. I entered in, I said I wanted the results for biopsy, and they said I have cancer and it is stage 3. Nothing else, no counseling, no nothing. I was just shocked. But that time I was here in Kenya. I decided I should finish my life. I wanted to die. I went in Afya house. Up, I wanted to throw myself down. But the minute I'm up there, soldiers, they were like, this woman is not in good sense. They took me down. I dodged them, then I went up again. I wanted to finish. And I knew when you jump from a building high as Afya house, I'm going to die on the process. I'm not going to feel the pains. I don't want to bring burden to my family, because I knew cancer, it's for rich people. Now I have it. I'm going to make my family miserable because of the treatments. So I wanted to finish it like that. But I went to the counseling there in Afya Center. They took me to one of their counseling. I was counseled there, and they took me up to my place.
When I went to Coptic, I went straight to the lab. They gave me the bahasha, the envelope, and it was not sealed. So, and they directed me to the oncologist. I had not seen the oncologist before, so I was referred to him to take the results. While I was waiting for the doctor, I opened the results, and they were for myself. I was given from the lab straight, so I opened while I was on the queue, and I saw carcinoma of the breast underlined in yellow. And of course, if you've gone to school, you can connect carcinoma, cancer. Yeah, so I was like, is it what I'm seeing? And if it's what I'm seeing, why did they give me the results for me to see for myself instead of giving the doctor to break the news? So I saw the doctor. He was a Hindu in Coptic, and he asked me, have you read the results? I was like, yeah, but I don't understand. And he was like, but it's what you've seen. it's carcinoma, it's breast cancer. So I just busted and I was crying because I've been through so much. And I was asking my God, why cancer? Me, why? This thing was not painful. I brought myself to the hospital. They are telling me it's cancer. And I thought, at the back of my mind, I thought cancer is for those old shushus. I felt I was still young, full of life. Why me? And now the worst part was, while I was crying, fine, the oncologist comforted me, and I was like, it's not the end of the world. I brought myself in the hospital. It was not painful. You told me I have cancer. Now he's telling me he said, I just need to have the breast chopped. That hit me hard. I mean, I'm still young. I've seen shows, with ugly breast. Why did it have to be me? So I was just crying. So he told me it's not an emergency again. Take your time, adjust. Take your time, try to accept it. When you're ready, come. Actually, he gave me his card because I was like, even money was an issue by then.
You see, the doctor who amputated me didn't tell me even to go for maybe further medication like chest, CT scans or whatever. He just told me to go home and I'm okay. He didn't even tell me to go for maybe radiotherapy or chemotherapy. He just told me to go home. Now this is the time to deal with lung cancer. So the first thing the doctor told me, he gave me a warm hug and he told me, you know what, you really have to fight this. He was a good doctor. I told him it's okay. I asked him whether I'll be well, and he told me, if you accept and if you fight hard, you'll be okay. So I went for my first chemotherapy.
I had a husband whom I told that I have cancer. He beated me up and left me. He wanted to dodge. He didn't want to be responsible to take me to hospital, cater for the bills, all that. That's what I knew he was dodging, because after that, after I did chemo, they removed my breast. Now he started coming again. I told him, no. You left me when I was in need of you. Now you're coming back to me. It's a no.